Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have we've got a new exciting project for us to play with, and well, here it is. Come on. Yep, come on. There we go. We got a Tesla, kind of. That is right, we have a 2018 Tesla Model 3 right here. Now, it's in our garage. I've got control of it on my phone, but it's not mine. It actually belongs to a buddy of mine who bought it from another buddy of ours, and it is here now for some basic paint, bodywork, and a full detail. So let's take a quick look. So giving it a walk around, it looks pretty good. It actually is in really good shape. There's only about 22,000 miles on it, and it has lived its life outside up in northern Minnesota, so we do have some color correction, paint correction to do on it. The biggest problem we are going to resolve is down here right behind the wheels. We have paint that is coming off, or has come off, along the rockers and up into the front fender here. So my job, should I choose to accept it, is to repair the paint damage down here on the rocker and on the fender. Now we can see this is on both sides and does extend back about 2 to 3 feet beyond the front of the rocker here, right down at the very edge towards the ground. But nonetheless, it is there and needs to be repaired. There's also a few other just, life scratches from living outdoors, and a few little scuffs and scrapes from kids' bikes and whatnot, because, life happens. Probably a parking lot ding here. Inside, the car is actually quite nice. If I could actually open it. Try this again. Helps to have the phone with you. Inside, it is pretty nice. It is pretty clean, not a whole lot of stains or anything, just needs a good cleanup. There's, of course, salt down here from Minnesota winters, so we'll take care of that. Everything else about the vehicle is about what you'd expect for a, 4.5-year-old vehicle. Just give it a good detail inside here, and then, of course, outside. Work on the paint correction, give it a good wax, ceramic coat, and send it back to my buddy. If you've been following along on our Instagram post, we did take a nice vacation down to Florida recently, and I did go to Copart and walked around, found a nice Model X that we were bidding on, but it went just a little outside of our comfort zone for the price. With a few of the unknown items for damage, it was all wrapped up, so weren't able to look at everything. And it was only the 5-seater model. We were looking for that 3rd row, so as the kids get a little bit older, we've got a 3rd row, something with a 3rd row in it here for us for carting around more kids, friends, cousins, whatnot. So we will keep looking for that, but hey, we've still got a Tesla to work on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start cleaning this thing on the inside, take a look when it's all said and done. But in the meantime, I need to run up to the O'Reilly store and talk to Gary, the paint guy, and find paint for the car. I'm gonna do 2 samples. I would like to find the actual color based on the paint code, and then I want to take their scan gun and kind of just get a read down near that rocker area, because again, since it has sat outside for I believe most of its life, if not all of its life, you're going to have a little bit of paint fade, and I've known from previous paint jobs and repairs that matching a factory paint to faded stuff doesn't always work. So I'm going to try and do the original code, and then, like I said, pull a read and see how far off we are, and between the two, and we'll come back with hopefully the best match, do a spray out of it, and if that works out, we'll go back and get a quart of paint, get our clear coat. We've got all of our other supplies here. We actually grabbed, let me get it. We got some of the SEM clear chip guard to go on after I base and clear the rocker area. I'm gonna hit the rockers themselves and up just a little bit higher, because behind the back door there is some additional paint chipping, so I have to deal with that as well. But I want to make sure we put a heavier coat of something over the paint for protection. I mean, the car only has 22,000 miles on it. Like I said, it's pretty much new, and we want to do whatever we can to keep this looking as good as we can, as long as possible. So I'm going to run up to the paint store, and when I come back, we'll start dealing with all this chipped paint down. There it is. Phew, it's right there. For me, it looks like I'm pointed at the golf cart that's way over here. Anyways, fans on, gonna turn the camera off. We'll come back. Alrighty, gang, we've taken a couple of days, made a couple trips to O'Reilly, talked to Gary up there, and gotten ourselves our paint. Took a couple of tries, but we are super, super close. And given the low area of where we are doing our repairs and the small area, I'm not concerned about the tiny bit of variation from our paint here to the paint that's on the car. Now, you're going, Tim, it's a Tesla. It's tri-stage paint. Yes, it is. That in the small amount we need would be cost prohibitive, because I would have to go through and replace all of my other reducers, activators, everything else, clears, and learn that whole process. Even the first color that was not correct, Buddy says, hey, it's good enough and it's better than what it is now. And I said, that's not good enough for me. So I probably spent about 3 hours working, trying to get this paint right. And at the end of the day, we threw the formula out the window and started off with kind of a baseline and added similar colors that were in the original formula back in. We got rid of the metallics, because the metallic out of the gun was super, super metallic. We actually put a little bit of bright white pearl in it and reduced the metallic to like 0.4 grams on the 4-ounce sample that we had. So we really played with stuff quite a bit, and I can't thank Gary up there at the local O'Reilly for helping me out. He's kind of my paint guy I go to. I trust him. I trust he's going to do a good job. So thank you to Gary. For now, it is springtime, and my trips up to O'Reilly to try and match the paint. The car got dirty. So we've gone ahead, cleaned it all off, started to do ceramic coating on some of the areas here in the frunk. Tires will get it as well. The inside has been cleaned out, but now my garage is a nice, moisty, wet playground. So I need to dry this out, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and quick give this thing a 3-stage cleaner wax polish with the Meguiar stuff and the Ammo NYC products, and get this thing ready to go. So when my floor is dry, I can get under here, start taking down some of that damaged material down to good metal. I'm going to put some of the rust encapsulator or rust prohibitor on it. We'll go over that, and then we'll get our primer and our paint on there and get it back to Mike. So I'm going to wax this thing. Just amuse yourself. I'll be right back. Alrighty, well, it seems like the GoPro felt it not necessary to record my audio here. So basically I'm taking my abrasive disc on my angle grinder or die grinder and knocking off all of the damaged paint along the rockers and fender and cleaning up the exposed metal. And that's going to help us get ready for the metal prep. Now I've gone ahead and done this both on the driver and passenger side, but really don't need to show you the same thing twice. So you can just see here we're knocking everything back. We're trying not to make a huge mess of everything and pull back all the paint, just work on the really damaged areas for the most part. And then here we're just simply spraying the bare metal with the Pour 15 rust converter or rust, whatever you want to call it, in a bottle, and getting it ready for our paint prep. Alrighty, well, we've got all of our affected areas cleaned off, prepped and cleaned. So really, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a tape line down here. First, as I was saying, I'm gonna run a tape line down here where our existing line is. So we're gonna paint here and down. I'm gonna do that on both sides. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the entire car so we don't get any overspray on it. And then I'll be ready to mix up some primer. And again, we're just gonna hit these little affected areas. We're gonna come back, sand them down smooth, blend them in, and then hit it with our paint. So if you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen me, mask off cars. So I'm just gonna do that off camera and come back when everything is ready to be painted. Alrighty, we've got everything wrapped up here. The wife's Outback has moved out of the garage, so that can only mean one thing. It is time for paint. Grab my GoPro, and we're gonna go ahead and just bust through this here. We're gonna lay down some primer. We're gonna put a sealer on top of that. We're gonna mix up our base coat, apply some of that, and then some clear coat, and we're all done. So that is what we're gonna do. We don't have a lot of space to cover. Really just a couple shots along the bottom here and we're gonna be good. So I don't need to mix up a lot of product. Did wet the floor down right in our direct painting space. Did take one final run with the paint prep and tack cloth to just get all the last little bits of dirt and dust off. And we're just gonna go ahead and mix up our paint. Find the GoPro, set it down, and just do our thing. Alrighty, so we are painting the car here. Like I said, we're just going to show you the passenger side. No need to bring the camera back and forth. It's the same thing. We've got 2 coats of primer laid down and did a little bit of sanding. And I noticed that we did have some of that original chip guard paint line. I wanted to maintain that carrying forward where we did take away the old damaged material. And so I went ahead and laid a little of the Dolphin glazing putty on there, sanded that down to maintain that contour. That looks great. After that, we went ahead and put down a coat of sealer. And then we went ahead and moved our tape lines up a little bit so we didn't have any hard line between primer, sealer, and the base and clear going back to the original paint. So we're just trying to feather things out a little bit in the limited space that we have here. What I also did is move the tape line from the rocker panel up to the bottom of the doors so we could go ahead and use the door line and rocker panel as our break point in the paint. So any difference in the color, there is going to be a little minor difference, but anything you would see was going to be a little bit less noticeable with that break in the body line there between the 2 doors and the rocker panel. After we tossed down our primer and sealer, we went ahead and laid down 2 coats of our base coat. Let that flash off for a little bit, and then 2 coats of our clear. And I think it turned out really well so far. And now I'm gonna go ahead and let it rest. Gonna go ahead and take off the tape along where we've painted, so make sure that clear doesn't stick and rip off when it's fully dry. So we're gonna get that done, then we'll come back and take a look at the car. Alrighty, we're gonna cut this one off right here before it gets too long. We've still got a little bit of work to do left. We'll save that for the next episode, but we will come back, get that wrapped up. And until then, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below. Like the video, share it out on social media. Hey, we're working on a Tesla. Not everybody does that. So for me, I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, stay tuned for next week when we finish up this project, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.